All right, everybody. So we have Guardian games for the next few weeks, and low-key, bro, in this post-Edge of Fate timeline that we live in, the events for Destiny 2 are actually pretty dang good, all things considered. And I would argue that Guardian games this year is honestly fun. Like, it's actually more fun than years past, and the loot, I would actually say, is pretty darn good, especially if you are a fusion rifle enthusiast, as this event finally gives us the replacement for the Cartesian coordinate that Banshee sold nearly 4.5 years ago at this point, which is crazy to think about, but let's just hop in. So the PvE activity, obviously you have supremacy for PvP, that is not my forte, so I'm talking about the PvE activity, is called Rushdown. Essentially, it is 5 bosses. Now, these bosses range from just about anywhere you could think of, except for dungeon bosses and raid bosses, of course. We have story bosses from Forsaken, story bosses from the Witch Queen, any boss from any of the main expansion stories, except for Shadowkeep. But you can find bosses like Callus, the first time you fight the Witness in the Final Shape campaign, Savathun, hell, even a Crota Nightmare from the Nightmare Hunts can appear here as well. Point is, if you like an activity in which you're mainly just focusing on blitzing some bosses, you will like Rushdown. I like Rushdown as well, although there are some encounters I could do without. But regardless, the activity itself is pretty fun, all things considered, and considering that you can customize the modifiers, you can actually set this up to be much more fun and a little bit more rewarding, fast, and easier than the standard match-made one. Now, obviously for this, you would want to have a fire team, as trying to do these fast and efficiently with blueberries is like asking Caleb Williams to make a good read on the football field. He's just playing hero ball out there. It ain't gonna happen. But if you got yourself and 2 of your boys with you, got an hour to kill, definitely run a custom modifier, as you can actually give yourself free arc surge, free damage, set the modifiers as you like, and still get some pretty darn good rewards, with some of the less annoying modifiers being on that are in the standard match-made one. And then in terms of going through the actual activity itself as fast as you can, low-key, bro, there is some optimization you can be doing in here to like really get through the runs faster than if you were just playing just kind of, I don't want to say willy-nilly, but just a little bit more unoptimally. But even myself, who is a Warlock main, to get through some of these runs a little bit quicker, I did hop on my Titan. All right, straight up, gotta do what you gotta do. Running a team comp of 2 Titans and then either Warlock or Hunter, have those Titans be on Prisma, Curus, Thundercrash, and your other teammate, whatever class they're on, just being on tractor cannon duty, you are going to down these bosses pretty fast, especially if you have on Finality's Augur and 2 Mint Retrogrades for the Titans apiece, right? You will be getting your super back quick, and you can let these Thunder Crashes rip. Thunder Crashes are gonna chunk through some of these bosses very, very fast, allowing you to get some quick runs, and when ideally you're just trying to cycle your super as fast as you can to just humph the Thunder Crashes at the bosses, you will run through these bosses and Rushdown runs really fast. Rock your Facet Courage, primarily shoot your Sai Eterna, as that is going to have a free 25% damage from the arc surge that you customized, put on before loading into the activity. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And for some of these bosses, you're gonna want to just get rid of them as fast as you can, because low-key, if you get caught lacking, these enemies will wreck you. Just be warned. But I primarily had success, obviously, on 2 Titans and a Warlock composition to get through these runs a little bit faster. Granted, I will say one boss that just kind of stone cold counters this strategy of team comp of just spamming Thunder Crashes as fast as you can is the Ahamkara boss fight from the Witch Queen campaign, considering you actually have to aim your Thunder Crash pretty precisely to actually get a damage number in the Ahamkara's mouth. It can definitely slow down your runs if you do get unlucky enough to have this boss come up in your rotation. I would highly recommend running Rushdown remixes and not the set one, as the set one, at least today, kind of just buns. And a lot of these bosses are going to go down pretty fast to Curus, Thunder Crashes on a boss that's tractored, Facet of Courage. They're going to take some mad chunks, plus some Rocket Pulses and Finality's Augur. The bosses are going to go down fast. And the loot, that loot, actually pretty darn useful. We'll go ahead and talk about the fusion rifle first, as that's what I imagine most people are doing Guardian games for in terms of weapons they want this year. Since the Beacon is a solar rapid fire frame fusion rifle, the first new solar rapid fire frame fusion since Cartesian got reprised way back when. And yeah, it's absolutely loaded with good perks. Combination with lead from gold, rewind rounds, with control burst and bait and switch is probably what you're going to want to look for the most. Column 2, anything that increases your magazine size or accelerated coils would go pretty ham. And then column 1, I don't know, increase your range however you may see fit. But on a weapon like this, with this type of archetype, with this good of perks, it's really hard to go wrong. But if I had to say, just go to rerun rounds, control burst, super good. You don't have, you literally just point and shoot at the enemy and the perks will all proc. You know, bait switch, you have to switch and rotate through all your weapons. Same thing with envious overflow, you'd have to pick up a brick beforehand. And then having lead from gold as a swap perk is just really good to have very high uptime on your ammo. Overall, absolutely juicer weapon. Now, the triple Loretta is the spread shot hand cannon. I know when initially looking at Light GG before this event came out, it had it as an aggressive frame. No, guys, it is a spread shot. As we all thought, having perks like 1-2 punch and trench barrel, most of us thought that it was going to be a spread shot, but we can officially confirm, yes, it is a spread shot. It does have things like slide shot and grave robber and the first column, which honestly I think are the only real ones that I'd be looking at. And then depending on what type of role you want your hand cannon to be doing best at is what would determine your fourth column. If you want a 1-2 punch one, you know, 1-2 punch slide shot with grave robber, one of those two first column perks would go ham. Trench barrel, same thing, right? I feel like trench barrel and grave robber probably a little bit more synergistic, although slide shot is just so dang goated. And then, yo, low-key, bro, just I haven't played around with chaos reshaped on a spread shot hand cannon, but like low-key, I think slide shot and chaos reshaped might be a little nasty. Some food for thought, not saying it's godly or anything, but an interesting role that only this weapon possesses. So definitely gets a little bit of attention for that reason. Now, the trace rifle is the first trace rifle of the new Edge of Fate tiered loot system, which is, you know, kind of crazy to think about. And luckily, they actually made a really heater perk pull for this trace rifle, which is awesome in my opinion. Yes, it has a shoot to loot in the third column. This is big. This is what you want on a trace rifle, at least in my opinion. I don't know what other third column you would ever use on a trace rifle other than shoot to loot. I know some people will be like, bro, you just were gassing up rewind rounds and everyone else gasses up rewind rounds and other weapons. You don't want to use a trace rifle to be dumping its entire mag. That's just not how you really use a trace rifle. Same thing as like, that's why I wouldn't use overflow, rapid hit. Don't use 4 times the charm. Don't do that. Don't do rewind rounds and target lock. This is not the anti-diet SMG from Desert Perpetual. You're not on a PK Titan, all right? This is a trace rifle utility at the most. So I think chain reaction could be pretty useful. You would target a squishier ad in a bigger group, and that chain reaction explosion would do some damage. And then I wonder if the chain reaction explosion would proc shoot to loot. I feel like it would, but you never know for sure for a fact unless you test it. Some people are going to be saying detonator beam. I was the same way, but my chat pointed out to me, mainly Icy, detonator beam was really good on Unsworn because of the subjugation origin trait on the Thunder Doctrine weapons. You take that away, it loses a lot of its, you know, oomph. So shoot to loot, chain reaction, honestly, perfect role you could go on this weapon. Trace rifles, you never want to dump their reserves, as trace rifles are generally used for their fat mag. For mechs, using shoot to loot while keeping double special up and not having to lose any of it. You never use a trace rifle to do actual damage to a healthy major or a boss ever, but there you go. I feel like most people are definitely going to be going for their god roll beacon. We were lucky enough to get one today to drop for us on stream as a hollow foil with some actually pretty decent rolls, can't lie to you. Not 5 out of 5, but we definitely have some good ones to work with for sure. And reround rounds control burst, I ain't never gonna complain about that roll. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on Rushdown as the activity for Guardian games and which weapon you are seeking out the most. Thank you so much for watching. A huge shout out to our channel members, Pikachu, KJ, Perplexity, and General. Much love, much love. Y'all have a great day. Consider subscribing. Enjoy some Guardian games. Rep the Warlock. I'll see you on that next one. Adios.